Aftab, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for talking to us about your piece in the program by the Cappella Amsterdam and a bunch of beautiful soloists, which is part of November Music, not just November Music, because the concert has been played on several pieces, right? On several stages.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about what you created for this concert?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure being here in November Music. Yeah, the idea of this project was from, I guess, 2 years ago, before all the pandemic started. We started some discussions with Leonard Evers. And when I heard about his ideas, I found them really interesting, actually. So I started to look for a text that could be connected to this whole idea of focusing on a specific geographical region. So I found this text, which is from a contemporary Iranian poet. He's famous as Saye, means shadow in Persian. He lives in Cologne, and actually he's considered like one of the greatest living literature figures in Iran at the moment. And this is a recent text that he has written like 3 years ago, perhaps. And the reason I liked it and I chose it is that it's about a person who hears a voice from 1,000 years ago constantly, and he doesn't know where this voice is from, but he finds it very familiar, and he feels that he has been hearing this voice since he was a child, and this voice has been within himself all his life. So he is in search of finding the source of this voice everywhere, in the galaxy, on the earth, in the jungles, everywhere. So he's all the time asking a question that my dear fellow who speak the same language with me, in which galaxy are you perched? And I find it sort of connected to this concept of Al-Bahr project, because, you know, in one night, Cappella Amsterdam sings in, I guess, 4 different languages, which they do an amazing job. At least I can say it from Farsi. And yet, it feels like they all sing in one language because they are all so connected. So I chose this text, and the piece is in 2 parts. So it's the opening of the concert, and then it's in middle of the first part before the break. And the second part ends with the same question that my dear fellow, in which galaxy are you perched? So the piece is called also HamZad, in Dutch, metgezeld.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the message is more or less that although we speak in different languages and we come from all over the world, but in a way, there is a global language that we all can communicate, and it's sound.
Yeah. So what did you do with the text in terms of the music, in terms of the notes, of the melody lines and the instruments that you chose?
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is that I didn't want to make Cappella Amsterdam to sing like in traditional Persian singing style, because we already have authentic like singers from like their own countries singing on the stage. So I tried to look at the piece and look at the text more from a philosophical perspective, let's say, that who sings what, and like which line it says which sentence. I didn't use the whole text. I chose the parts that I found it the most musical, yet it's possible to follow like what's happening if someone knows the language, of course. And the choice of instruments, I always loved to use kamanche, which is an Iranian bowed instrument, and duduk. And this time it made it this project made it happen because in a way this is like 3 cultures combined in one piece. You know, we have the classical singing style by Cappella Amsterdam. we have the duduk, which has an Armenian background, and we have kamanche from a Persian background, and they all ask this question over and over. And actually, at the end of the second piece, also the instrumentalists put the instrument down and they all sing with the choir and ask this question to the audience.
Yeah. That's a very interesting part because of the repetition of this phrase, which makes it very, very strong, very emotional as well.
Yeah.
So you combine, in a way, three different musical and cultural backgrounds in one piece, which is something I believe you really love to do, right? In your other work as well.
I think this is in a way who I am, because I came here when I was 23, so 11 years ago. I was born in Tehran, Iran, and so my education is I played classical piano back there, and then I came here. I studied film music, and then I got to know contemporary music, and I really loved contemporary music. At the same time, my father is a very traditional Iranian composer, so I'm very familiar with Iranian music, and I played some Iranian instruments myself also. So I think I just love to, just putting these musical cultures next to each other and then see what happens. And always the result is exciting for me.
Yeah. Do you think music benefits from the fact that cultures connect together? I'm thinking of, the Andalus period, when you had different kind of cultural and religious backgrounds in the south of Spain, which was a blossoming period in history, right?
Yeah,
do you think this is happening again right now?
I think for sure, because especially now, cultural boundaries are disappearing. I mean, people are just traveling and living in other places, and of course they come with a baggage and a cultural background, so we get to know other cultures, musical cultures, not only music, everything, the approach to life also. And I think we see it in this program very well because the music is, at least like Iran is not part of the Mediterranean coast, but it still can be connected to the whole thing,
Yeah. You studied film music as well. Is that something you still love to do, or would you rather say, no, I'm a composer, I compose whatever is needed or whatever I like to do?
Yeah, I think I would prefer to say I'm a composer, but whenever a film comes up that I really like it, of course. But I could never consider myself a composer who only writes for film, because I was feeling that maybe this is not all I want to say, because you always have limits and director and producer, which sometimes can be a very good thing, but it's a bit limiting. So if a project comes up that I really like, for sure.
Yeah. Maybe just one more thing, because there's one other piece, I believe, which is part of the November music program, which is, I would say, in terms of volume, rather the opposite. Just two instruments. Saxophone and violin for Merel and Femke.
Yeah. Actually, I have three pieces in November music. So one was the Albar project. One is for a duet for violin and saxophone, and one will be on 10th of November, a string quartet played by Ragazza Quartet.
Oh yes, of course.
Which is a piece as a part of Kronos repertoire, 50 for the Future. When Meryl contacted me, I was like, is this even possible? Because it's such a rare combination, violin and saxophone. They're both in the same range, especially if you use alto or soprano, and they're both melodical. So for me, it was really challenging. I would say more challenging than writing for an orchestra or a choir, because I had to all the time think that, how should I make the balance? But today, it was the first time I heard them actually, and when I was hearing it, I was like, wow, there's so much that you can do with these two instruments in all the four pieces. All the composers had different approaches, and it all worked so nice and differently.
Yeah, the theme was a philosophical book by Bruno Latour. Is that something you feel connected to write music with a philosophical or scientific idea as a starting point?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, I started to read about it when I got in touch with Meral and Femke, and when they actually introduced me to this philosophy, which I found very interesting. And at the time, we were in middle of the pandemic, so it was lockdown and like nothing was going on. So in a way, I was feeling that yes, maybe the human being really needs to change some fundamental way of thinking, and I think this is in a way what Latour is suggesting. In relation to society.
Yeah, giving rights to animals, giving rights to
exactly.
things as well.
Yeah, so it's not only human that matters, but there are a lot of things that can affect us without our control. That we have been through it, the last 2 years. So.
Yeah, but you may know that, for instance, in India, I believe an elephant has been given legal rights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and in South Africa, a number of monkeys, not the species, but individual monkeys, were by trial, by a judge, given judicial rights, to set them free, to make it forbidden to keep them captured. So that's the first
interesting
step.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So of course, maybe we can give nature or our environment as well a judicial status to protect it.
Yeah.
If it works, it might help.
Yeah, interesting. Food for thought.
Yes, yeah. You already mentioned the 50 for the Future project, which is not, I believe, the only thing you've been doing with the Kronos Quartet, because your connection to them continued after that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell just a bit about 50 for the Future, which is a very interesting project.
Yeah. Well, I met David Harrington, the first violin and the director of Kronos Quartet, here in Amsterdam. At the time, they were artists in residence of Holland Festival, and at the time I just graduated from the conservatory, so it was some years ago. And he asked me to send him some of my pieces, and I did. And he liked them so much, so he trusted me. Actually, we talked for a very long time. I think for 6-7 months we were video calling, like just to. I think they wanted to get to know me, like what I think, how I do things. But eventually we did this, and it's one of the most interesting things I've done, because I think what they have done is they for 5 years they commissioned 50 composers, so 25 women, 25 men, 50 string quartets that are available online for free. All the scores, all the interviews, the parts, the recordings. So it's like a library of contemporary string quartet for beginners, intermediates, professionals, for everyone. And I see that how effective it is in the world now, because it's one of my pieces that has been performed endlessly everywhere in the world, and they arrange it for different combinations, for woodwinds, for saxophones, for string orchestras. And I bet all of the pieces in this project are like this, so they have really it's a big chunk of good contemporary music that they have brought to world, so I'm very proud of it.
Yeah. And that can be easily performed with no rights, etc., etc.
It's okay.
So they're available for everyone.
They love it, and actually, if you just write to them that we are performing it, if by any chance they're around, I'm sure that they would love to come and visit it. Even lovely. Yeah. And
you're still working with the Kronos, right?
Yes. I'm going to write 2 songs with a Persian singer and Kronos. I think we will start from next month for their upcoming festival in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So is there any chance it will be performed in the Netherlands as well?
I hope so. I really hope so. I'm sure if they start touring. I think they haven't started touring yet. I think they play in America still. Yeah. But for sure, would be great.
would be lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.